Welcome to New York's #2 sports show. The Yankees find a way to survive with a great comeback. They win Game 3 against the Blue Jays by a score of 9-6. They were trailing 6-1, and the big moment was an Aaron Judge game-tying 3-run homer in the fourth inning off of the foul pole on what was a heavy fastball from Louis Varland inside that he somehow was able to turn around and just keep it fair. Unbelievable. 100-mile-per-hour inside pitch, and that tied it up at 6. So much to discuss this game. I mean, it looked like the Yankee season was over. It really, really did. It was an ugly outing from Carlos Rodón. Defensive miscues as well, but Carlos Rodón does not get it done. He luckily gets the no decision. 2 1/3 innings, 6 hits, 6 runs, 2 walks, and 2 strikeouts for Rodón. Again, for him, how can you feel good about what he's going to bring to the table in a big moment? Again, not to say that he has not come through in some spots. Now, at this point, it's been more bad than good. But again, they survived it. As far as this series goes, you're very unlikely to see Carlos Rodón again. I mean, I guess, if it does go to Game 5, could there be a scenario where Rodón pitches? I suppose, but it's pretty unlikely. But he does not get the job done, and it was bad. I mean, he gives up 2 runs in the first. We'll discuss that, and then the 4-run third. But the Yankees just kept on chipping away, and a lot of credit going around. I mean, 6 2/3 scoreless innings from the bullpen. Absolutely fantastic between Fernando Cruz, Camilo Doval, Tim Hill, Devin Williams, and David Bednar. They are able to collect 20 outs. I mean, that's sensational. And, I've been, pretty critical of the fact that the Yankees have not, been the best comeback team. Now, it got better over time, but this is a pretty gutsy comeback. Now, granted, like most of it happened early, but still, 5-run deficit is 5-run deficit. I believe this is only the 4th time in Yankee postseason history where they have overcome a 5-run deficit. First time since 2010, Game 1 ALCS against Texas. So, not easy to do. For the longest time this year, the Yankees didn't have a 3-run comeback. So the season seemed dead. It did. And all of a sudden, 2 runs in the third, the 3-run fourth due to Judge, 2-run fifth, 1-run sixth. The offense got it done. And like I've said, home field was going to be critical in this series. And I still kind of believe that that will still be the case, which would be in favor of Toronto. But look, in some ways, if you're the Blue Jays, you can't feel good about this. I mean, you had the Yankees knocked out and you let them off the hook. You gave them life. And so the way the Yankees won certainly can't have you feeling great if you're the Blue Jays. But again, that all said, even if the Yankees win Game 4, and we won't discuss that much this episode, hopefully next episode, but look, Toronto is still in the driver's seat of this series. But the Yankees, of course, did what they had to do, and it feels good the fact that, again, down 6-1, things seem bleak, but they were able to get it done. And for Judge to have his moment is great. Hopefully from here, he can keep on going, right? Hopefully this, if anything, can really increase. And obviously, he doesn't lack confidence, but he has had major, major struggles in the postseason. And there was no doubt about it. That was a massive, massive moment for him. And the stadium went crazy. So let's just discuss this game because there's a lot to talk about. And then we'll give a little preview for Game 4. But it starts out where, and again, as far as the Yankee lineup, the same as it had been the previous 2. I think it was the same exact one for 1 and 2. Certainly it was the same one for 2, same players as well. So Shane Bieber, let me just give his line. Shane Bieber really doesn't get it done. He wasn't terrible, but did not give them the length that was needed for sure. Especially considering the Blue Jays, it's kind of an all hands on deck situation for Game 4. We'll discuss that after we go through Game 3. But Bieber, 2 2/3 innings, 5 hits, 3 runs, 2 of those earned, 1 walk and 2 strikeouts. Blue Jays defense ended up being a problem in this game. And it's kind of what we saw a little bit like with Yankees Red Sox, where the Red Sox, they had their miscues and it helped the Yankees out. That's the Yankees have been on the bad side of that, but we've seen that. And look, what we're going to talk about here was Yankee defense that doesn't get it done either. When even though no errors were on the Yankees ledger, some things were really not great. So, first inning, Davis Steiner gets a 1-out walk, and that's never a good thing for many reasons. And I'll say this as well. Davis Steiner probably should have been struck out on a 2-2 pitch. It was close, but it was a strike. Called the ball. It happens. But now Vlad Guerrero's up. And I don't care that it's runner on first, 1 out. It's partially a team philosophy thing, which bothers me to no end. Vladimir Guerrero Jr., A, is just one of the great hitters in the game. B, he's red hot. C, his numbers off of Rodón are other fucking worldly. And it's a 2-0 count. What does Carlos Rodón do? Instead of just pitching around him, which, let's say the tables return, the Blue Jays, because we know how the Blue Jays, intentionally walk Judge a lot. Like, obviously they couldn't do it, in some of the earlier situations, but later on they did. And it actually did hurt that. And it did kind of lead to another Yankee run, but here nor there. Rodón just lays in a changeup, and Guerrero blasts it out for his third homer of the series, makes it 2-0 Toronto. That cannot happen. Again, the Davis Steiner walk, that's bad in and of itself. Even if maybe it was a little bit unaided, that's still on Rodón. And then you cannot pitch to Vlad Guerrero Jr. I mean, he was 10 for 17 with 4 walks, no strikeouts. I forget the home run count that Guerrero had among that, but he absolutely owned Rodón, and that only continued in this game. 2-0 Blue Jays. Bottom of the first, though, the Yankees do score a run. And thanks to old friend Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, Judge 1-out single, and then with Ben Rice up, 2-out runner on first, Kiner-Falefa bobbles the ball at second, and he bobbled it at first and it was fine, but then he couldn't even recover from that. Bobbled it twice. And so Rice reaches, and then Giancarlo Stanton gets an RBI single to make it 2-1. So there were, Judge is the main catalyst here, but there were some other contributions all the way around, and Stanton right there gets an RBI single, and then Jazz flies out. So it's 2-1 at this point. Second inning, you have a situation where Rodón doesn't allow a run, but I do want to mention a failed challenge by the Yankees on an Andres Gimenez hit by pitch. It really did not look like it hit him. I mean, it's one of those things that if it was a no hit by pitch on the field, it would have stood. I guess there was no conclusive evidence to overturn it, so the Yankees lose the challenge, but ultimately they don't give up any runs that inning. Let's go to the top of the third. This is where shit gets really, really ugly. Lead up double Davis Steiner, which again cannot happen knowing that Guerrero is coming up. They smartly, intentionally walk Guerrero. Then Alejandro Kirk lines at the Judge, and then is where things get fucked up. Dalton Varsho singles on a ball that Cody Bellinger should have caught. Now, look, we're a little bit spoiled in the fact that Bellinger has made that play all year long. It's not an easy play. But Cody, who I've been very frustrated with this series, some of the offensive numbers that he has, it's a little bit lucky. Honestly, this again is coming from a Cody Bellinger fan. I really like his style of play. It's a winning brand of baseball, but it's a catch that Cody Bellinger can't make. And then you have a couple of mistakes by Trent Grisham and Chisholm Jr. So now you have David. And here's the thing about the Bellinger misplay. If he makes the catch, Davis Steiner is doubled off of second easily, and the inning is over, and it's 2-1. That misplay, and maybe misplay is not the right word, but him not making that play ends up leading to 4 Blue Jay runs. Massive ramifications. Grisham throws it to Jazz. Grisham needs to throw that ball home. Again, there's a nonchalant nature to Grisham, like that I've said would kind of hurt the Yankees, and it kind of did here. I'm more talking about like not a play like this. This is a sort of a different sort of thing, but Grisham needs to throw that home, and then Jazz needs to be learned as well, right? I don't want to blame one more than the other. It's a triple, it's a trifecta, if you will. Cody, as far as not being able to secure the ball, Trent not throwing it home, and then Jazz needs to be more aware of the fact that Steiner is going home as well. And so that makes it 3-1 Blue Jays, and as well, it is now first and second and 1 out. And so now then here's the next play. Ernie Clement, RBI single just to the left of Ryan McMahon, past the dive of McMahon, makes it 4-1. And the frustrating thing here too is that that's a bad 0-2 pitch by Carlos Rodón. Not well executed at all. And Cody Bellinger needs to charge this ball more in left field. It was an accurate, strong throw, but where's the charge? I mean, is it because of the heel? I don't know what that was. And Guerrero scores. And not only that, the runners advance to second and third. So it's a confluence of events that's a nightmare for the Yankees. And then Carlos Rodon's last batter of the game, he can't put away Anthony Santander. Santander, as a righty, is able to hit a line drive past Ben Rice and into the outfield for a 2-run single and make it 6-1 Blue Jays. So total disaster at Yankee Stadium. Rodon is out again. Really, I mean, it's you can't trust Carlos Rodon in a big spot. That's just kind of what it is. That's been my fear all along, and he hasn't shown me anything to change my mind on that. So now here comes the bullpen, and here's where, again, that credit comes in. Fernando Cruz comes on, and Addison Barger pinch hits for Connor Falefo. We'll get back to Barger in a little bit. But that does happen. A pretty quick pinch hit spot by John Schneider. But Cruz is able to get the final two outs of the inning. And at the time, kind of seems like whatever, right? They're down 6-1, but it ends up being important. Go to the bottom of the third, and there's a little bit of a defensive switch where Ernie Clement goes from third to second. Addison Barger goes in at third. While Trent Grisham is up, there is another failed challenge by the Yankees where they challenged for catcher's interference, which should have been called and wasn't. Again, both, I understand why the Yankees challenged it. Both didn't go their way. This one was even more egregious. So the Yankees had no challenges, and it's the third inning. But ironically, Trent actually gets a double. So it ends up kind of being better than what would have been the catcher's interference. Then it's a wild pitch by Shane Bieber. Runner on third, no out. And Aaron Judge gets an RBI double, makes it 6-2. So this kind of starts the rally a bit. Then Cody Bellinger kind of dunks in a single. It was kind of similar to the single that Bellinger had against Aroldis Chapman in game one of the wild card round. Makes it first and third, no out. And then Ben Rice, who really has been struggling quite a bit, does not get the job done. Guerrero decides, and really it ends up kind of being no harm, no foul. Guerrero could have gone like the 3-6-3 double play chance, and the run would have scored right there. But Aaron Judge does a nice job of getting involved in a little bit, enough of a rundown at third base to allow Bellinger to get to third. Rice stays at first. So it ends up, the at-bat started first and third, no out. It ends first and third, one out. So again, good job by Judge there to get Bellinger over to third, because the next batter, Giancarlo Stanton, it's a sac fly. Makes it 6-3. And then Jazz walks. And Shane Bieber is now out of the game. First and second, 2 out. They pinch hit Rosario for McMahon. And that made sense that it was Rosario, and the fact that, as far as positionally, if you did Goldschmidt there, it would have kind of put them in a tough spot. So Rosario kind of made more sense. You know, you kind of feel for McMahon that he leaves the game in the third inning, but it was what it was. Unfortunately, Rosario pops out. Not a great at-bat by Rosario there against Mason Fluharty, the lefty. Stays 6-3. Then in the fourth, Fernando Cruz strikes out Springer and Schneider. He does give up a 2-out single to Vlad Guerrero Jr., and then Camilo Doval finishes out the inning, getting Alejandro Cortogrand out. Then here's the fourth. The really big play is with 1 out. Austin Wells hits a pop down third base towards the line. Addison Barger going back, drops the ball. And Austin Wells goes to second. That right there was a huge moment. Big mistake by Toronto. Big mistake by Barger, who did not start the game. Remember that. And then a really bad walk by Fluharty walking Trent Grisham, right? That's Trent Grisham against lefties. To me, like my biggest hope is that he walks. And that's exactly what happened. Like, you cannot walk Trent Grisham if you're Fluharty. But again, like, you're hitting a part of the bullpen that John Schneider didn't ideally want to have to use here. And so now Louis Varland comes in. Remember, he struck out Stanton in game one, just overpowered him. Aaron Judge on an 0-2 count. A pitch that was well inside. This was not a bad pitch by Louis Varland. Wasn't his? I mean, Judge is able to somehow keep it fair off of the pole, tied 6-6. There's your big Aaron Judge moment. There's the moment that I was looking for. And you just hope that it can stand somehow. You hope that somehow that the Yankees can keep this thing going, and you can really look back at that home run and be really proud of it. But for this moment, if nothing else, it was huge. Ties it up at 6. Then in the top of the fifth, 1-out double Ernie Clement, who had a great game. Ernie Clement was 4 for 4 in this game. He's been, I mean, a few of the guys have just been really, really good. Clement being one of them. Of course, Vlad Guerrero Jr. We've seen a lot from Dalton Varsho, although he did strike out 3 times in this game. But a 1-out double for Clement. Really nice sliding catch by Aaron Judge on a lineup by Anthony Santander against Camilo Doval. And then Tim Hill comes on. Tim Hill does yeoman's work. He strikes at Addison Barger to end that inning, lefty-lefty. Then the bottom of the fifth, Jazz Chisholm Jr., who had been very quiet up until this point, homers off of Varland. First homer of the postseason makes it 7-6 Yanks. Look, Jazz is a bit of all or nothing, for better or worse. But right there, no doubt about it, shot to right center, gives the Yankees a 7-6 lead. Then they bring on Braden Fisher, another righty. And Ahmed Rosario, righty versus righty, actually gets a double, 1-out double. After Anthony Volpe strikeout, and I will say Volpe has really come down to earth in a big way. Struck out 3 times in this game. I want to say at one point that and in his last 14 at bats, 10 of them were strikeouts. It may even be worse than that. It's something along those lines. He's been really bad, unfortunately. Again, the defense has been great. And he really did contribute a lot, kind of in that Red Sox series and a little bit in game 1 against Toronto, but it has started to go away from him. So just saying. But runner on second, 2 out, really big RBI hit for Austin Wells that scores him at Rosario to give Yankees a little more breathing room, make it 8-6. Again, Wells has kind of had a knack for that, getting some pretty big hits. He is out at second as they throw home to Kirk. Kirk throws to Jimenez. They take him out. Yankees had no challenges, so even if they wanted to, they couldn't challenge that play. Top of the 6th, Tim Hill gets a 1-2-3 inning. Getting Barger and Jimenez is one thing. Getting Springer to ground out and Davis trying to fly out was huge. Against righties, Tim Hill, again, he is a guy that I do feel good about. Again, I wish that he was in last year in the World Series Game 1 and not Nestor Cortez. But Tim Hill, 4 big outs. And so now at this point, you're thinking you got to get 9 outs between Devin Williams and David Bednar. And that's exactly what happens. Bottom of the 6th, the Blue Jays bring on lefty Brendan Little. And with 1 out, they intentionally walk Judge. That's kind of the beauty of it all. Like the fact that they're that fearful of him that they'll just put him on freely. It does lead to a run. It does. Cody Bellinger double on a play that a better outfielder probably makes a better play on it. Santander dives, can't make it. So it's a double by Bellinger, second and third, 1 out. Ben Rice is up lefty versus lefty, and he has been struggling. Give Ben Rice some credit. He gets a big sac fly to make it 9-6. So despite the fact that, been a little, Rice has not looked so comfortable up there, that's a big sac fly. Lefty makes it 9-6. 7th inning, a couple of defensive substitutions. Goldschmidt comes on to play first base, and Caballero comes in to play third. So Rosario out of the game, Weiss out of the game. Then Devin Williams comes on, 1-2-3, 7th inning from Devin Williams. Top of the 8th, he does allow 1-out single to Ernie Clement because the Yankees can't get Clement out. But then a big strikeout of Anthony Santander. That was big. Santander was, it was a full count, and he blows it by him. So 4 big outs for Devin Williams. And then David Bednar, a couple of quick outs in the 8th. Barger grounds out, Jimenez grounds out. The Yankees get a little bit of a chance going in the 8th inning, but unfortunately, Giancarlo Stanton with the bases loaded, a 2-out pops out. And then David Bednar in the 9th strikes out Springer, strikes out Nathan Lucas, and then an unbelievable play by Jose Caballero at third to rob Laguerrero of another hit. What a way to end it. David Bednar getting his second save of the postseason. Give the win to Tim Hill, deservedly so. But yeah, 6 2/3 scoreless innings from the Yankee bullpen. They come back and win this thing 9-6. Quite the comeback. Down 6-1 in the 3rd. They're able to get it done. Really culminated that big Judge three-run homer. That was the moment. That was really it. And then from there, you get the Chisholm homer, Wells RBI single, Rice sac fly. And so now we go to game 4. And for the Yankees, we know it's going to be Cam Schlittler, which is exciting. However, look, Cam Schlittler did have his struggles versus the Blue Jays this year. He faced them once on the road, was able to kind of grind through that enough. The line on that one for Cam that was his first road start. 5 innings, 7 hits, 2 runs, 3 walks, 3 strikeouts. Not good from a whip standpoint, but hey, 5 innings, 2 runs at Toronto, not bad. But it was the one in the Bronx that was horrible. He didn't make it out of the second inning. 1 2/3 innings, 5 hits, 4 runs, hit batsman, 2 walks, and 2 strikeouts. 66 pitches in less than 2 innings. It was bad. So on the one hand, you have Schlittler probably feeling amazing with a lot of confidence coming off of his amazing outing versus the Red Sox, but also, again, Toronto did well against him, right? So what power is going to win out there? And if you're a Yankee fan, you're hoping more of the recency of what he did against the Red Sox. Or maybe it ends up somewhere in the middle, right? That's probably the most likely thing, where he won't do what he did against Boston, but he won't do as bad as he did on September 5th against the Blue Jays. The real interesting thing is, where does Toronto go from here? And John Strider has not announced his game 4 starter. I really wonder what happens. To me, in some ways, I think There's no easy call here. If I'm them, I wouldn't go with Trey Savage as part of this plan. I would hold him back for game 5, whether that be as a starter or coming in after Gosman in game 5. To me, between Gosman and Savage, I think it'd make more sense for Schneider to go with Gosman for many reasons. I mean, look, he pitched the day before Savage. So just in terms of recovery and rest, you have Gosman on 3 days rest compared to Savage on 2 days rest, or they go in a completely, or it may just be a straight bullpen game where Eric Lauer might be the one that gets the bulk of it. Like that could be the case as well. It could be straight bullpen game where up 2-1, they stay away from the Gosmans of the world and the Savages. But who the hell knows is going to happen? Like, but again, like as a Yankee fan, I almost wouldn't, not that I don't want to see a Savage in game 5. That's the biggest thing I don't want to see. So anything beyond that is kind of what I'm hoping for. But look, plain and simple, you need Cam Schlittler to do well. Yankee bullpen is still in a pretty good place, despite the fact that the heavy usage today, none of those guys pitched on Sunday and Monday, and only a couple of them pitched on Saturday. So that's, they're set up pretty well. And for Toronto, them as well in some ways. I mean, obviously, it's unideal that a lot of the guys that I think were probably part of the plan for game 4 were used. But again, like Schneider's kind of keeping things close to the vest. So I'm not, your guess is kind of as good as mine. And then we'll kind of see what the Yankee lineup looks like, right? Like if Eric Lauer is going to be the bulk guy, then could it be more of a right-handed lineup for the Yankees? But then you have to account for, who knows? What is going to happen is by the start of the game, the Blue Jays will announce a starter, right? So we don't have that right now, but there will be one. But who knows what that could just be an opener for all we know, right? Now, obviously, if somehow it is Gosman, let's just say, then it's not an opener. But if it is just a random bullpen guy that isn't Eric Lauer, chances are that's an opener. But we'll see, right? Like, big decision for John Schneider to make. Don't envy him for that one because I don't know there's necessarily an obvious answer. But if I were him, I would try to stay away from Savage. But maybe in their minds, they're thinking, Gosman's just full go for game 5. But if I'm them, I think a Gosman Savage combination for game 5 could do well. Or even just Savage alone for game 5 could be good for them, And this, again, if they go Gosman on 3 days rest, I don't think that's necessarily a terrible thing to do. I think it would be dumb, and to me, it's kind of off the table as Savage for in any part of game 4. Like to burn him and not just wouldn't make sense to me. Again, this is coming from a Yankee fan, but just seeing it that way, between the two, I think Gosman would be more likely to go in game 4. But they may try to stay away from those guys completely, and maybe only in an absolutely necessary situation would you see either of them in game 4. But it's almost tougher in some ways for Schneider because they're up 2-1, right? If they were down 2-1 and you're just in straight desperation mode, in some ways it's almost just easier, right? In that situation, you probably do go Gosman on 3 days rest and not even think much about it. But since you're up 2-1, you almost have to think about the long game a little bit more. So I will be fortunate enough to be at game 4. I hope that it's a better result than the game that I went to game 1 against the Red Sox. Now, granted, that had Garrett Crochet, so kind of knew going in it wasn't going to be great. But, hoping to see Yankee win. And like I said, I think home field means a lot in this series, and it's why I felt like the Yankees needed to win it in 4. That chance is gone. And so my then second kind of guess was Blue Jays in 5. But in order for that to even be a possibility, the Yankees have to win game 4. Got the one step, amazingly so, down by 5. Aaron Judge seizes the opportunity, hits a 3-run shot off of the foul pole, ties the game up at 6, and the Yankees end up winning it by a score of 9-6. So the Yankees season lives on. They have now survived 3 elimination games at Yankee Stadium, and they will now look to survive a 4th elimination game at Yankee Stadium in game 4 as Cam Schlittler takes the mound for the Yankees.